Hi there, this is Donna Kozik. I'm the founder of MyBigBusinessCard.com, creator and leader of the original Write a Book in a Weekend program, and also lead editor for the Community Book Project. This is our Give Me 200 Words training today, and we're going to talk a little bit about writing and what makes writing better. And I like to start off with showing a little bit of myself at work and going over one of my own writing assignments, if you will, that I've had over the past week or so. This one is about the next edition of the Community Book Project called 2020 Vision. And I made an announcement about the project this past week, and I'm going to share with you an email that I wrote about it and give you a little bit of insider behind the scenes information about when I create my emails. So many people in my audience are looking to grow their list, whether they're speakers, coaches, authors themselves. And so the intent here is to show you what works in email, just some a little psychology sometimes behind the different words and phrases that I use. So first of all, I had this might not have been the exact subject line, but I had a subject line, and I find these, I put in brackets kind of like news or free training or like this announcement tends to help my open rates. And then I greet my audience member by first name. Then I almost always introduce myself as your book coach. So I reiterate my name, my full name, and say your book coach. And this is for people who have either been on my list for a while or might be new to my list. I just want them to start associating me with being their book coach. So I just call myself, hey, it's Donna Kozik, your book coach. And so in every email that kind of reiterates what I do and what I am, what role I play in the reader's life. So this was an announcement I made about the next project, and I said I was sending this to just a handful of people, which is true. I limited this to just a few hundred people that I sent this to as I'm getting this community book project started, and it's people who have already shown interest in the community book project. Now I have some plans for this book that I'm going to take it to my whole audience, but for right now, I'm just keeping it to this handful of people. I don't know if you consider a couple hundred people a handful of people, but that's where you put it, conversational tone. So then I reminded them that the Community Book Project 2020 Vision is a little bit different than past community book projects. This one is going to go over a longer period of time. We're going to write it over a series of months. You can have more than one essay in it. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But before I got into all of that, I wanted to remind the reader about what the community book project was. So most people who are receiving this email have either been in a project or signed up on the interest list but have never taken part. So I want to remind them that it's made hundreds of contributors, Amazon #1 bestsellers, because for people in general, it's like that's a impressive moniker to have for themselves. And then I reminded how many editions we've published, 6 editions so far. But then I'm talking about the upcoming project, and I'm starting to give a hint that this is going to be a different type of community book project. So I talked about it being bigger, bolder, more ambitious than all the others, and then remind them that it's going to be fun as well. So then I gave a few teasers about what I have in mind for the project. And the reason I do this in emails is because there are going to be a fair number of people who read the emails, maybe glance through the email, skim the email, but will not show up for the call. So when I'm setting up preview calls like this, I actually take some of my PowerPoint messages or what I'm going to be talking about and put them in the initial emails. And this is to create what we call as least amount of friction as possible. So people say, like, when they see what they see in the email matches what they will see on the registration page for the webinar, matches what they will hear during the webinar, matches what will become the actual invitation or offer that they'll receive on the webinar. So the idea is to keep everything in flow, walk them down a path. I don't want to overwhelm them with information and just kind of spill my guts about everything about this, but I want to give them a little bit of information so their mind can start selecting and deciding, is this a project for me or isn't it? And so then they'll start to know. So I highlight, it's going to be a big book of inspiration, probably closer to 300 pages, I'm thinking. You can have more than one entry published in it. This is something during the regular community book project that people are always like, oh, it's hard for me to write about just one pet. Can I have a couple more entries? And the way that project works, no. But in this project, yes. So this is something different. Also, that we're going to start with soft cover instead of Kindle, something different. And then I hint that about the launch calendar and mention and plant the seed that if you take part in this book, you can give it to friends and family during the holiday gift giving season. And then we're going to have a worldwide launch January of 2020. And one thing I'm really excited, I have to say, I'm kind of happy for myself in doing this, or that I actually got this going ahead of time, because so many times with the projects I put out there, it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. And then it's like done in like 2 weeks. This is one that's really going to be spread out over a period of time. The actual writing for the book isn't going to start until August. And so in July, I'm having a preview or a warm-up exercises with what I'm calling Donna's Book Club. So this is really nice that we're going to have some time to spend with this. They're going to have dozens of writing prompts, and they're going to have an opportunity to revise their work. And this is something different than the community book project. So again, I'm just kind of starting to show the reader what's different and entice them to sign up for the free webinar, where I'm going to be talking more about this. Then I have a couple things that, or one thing here that's really different, and this is this idea of having mentors among us. So this is a mentorship program, a leadership program I'm going to have as part of this community book project. And this idea came because I've had people volunteering to help me out in the past projects. And also it's going to be helpful to have some help during this bigger project, this big book of inspiration. And I have an audience that's 70% coaches. So they love to mentor people and be present as leaders and support people. So why not give them an opportunity to share their gifts in that area? So also, because this is a case of know your audience. This is going to people who have been in the community book project or are familiar with it, so they might be ready for the next step and being a mentor. If I was just sending this, but if I was sending this to my entire list of 36,000, I probably wouldn't put a special emphasis on this, because I would want to emphasize the book first more than the mentorship program. But for this audience, because they're familiar with the book project, this is something a little bit extra that they might be interested in. Then I did put this little reminder in here. If you're interested in being a community book project mentor, please try to attend tomorrow's call live. And I'm not like demanding or anything like that, but when I really encourage them to, then that's just a little extra incentive to get them there live. And that's so important when you do these preview calls. If you're an online marketer, or you do webinars for your business or anything like that, the more people you get live, the better, because that's when they're more likely to take action. Replays are great, but most people request a replay and they don't listen to it. So you want to try to do everything you can to get them there live. So then here is the call-in information. And then I make a little note, you can leave me questions, and then hear you there. So I didn't quite do it with this piece, but there's a philosophy too in email marketing that you kind of end your email abruptly, that you don't just kind of bring it in for a smooth landing. And I didn't quite do it here, but sometimes like I might just have like, oh, here's the web listening link, and then like my best Donna. And the reason that there's a psychological reason for doing that, and that is to make the reader feel a little bit unsettled, like this isn't finished. And so then they're like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And so that causes them to kind of want to finish things on their own or take the next step. If I just bring it into a landing, it's almost like, oh, this piece, this piece is ended, I'm done reading this, let me just move on with my day. And they won't ask a question or register or anything like that. Oh, I know the reason why I wasn't so concerned about that is because I wasn't having a call to action to opt in. I was actually giving them the information for the call. But in any case, that's one thing to think about, is kind of having a little disconnect at the ending where it's an abrupt ending, and sometimes that can get your reader to take action, actually. So then just finish off with my regular, I have a handwritten signature image that I like to use. It makes it look a little bit more personal. And then my credibility factors here at the end. So that's a little bit about how that works. If you are watching this live after I'm done with the recording, if you have any questions about this, I'm happy to field those for you. All right, so let's get on to this week's prompt and the submitter that I picked to go over the piece. So the prompt was, give me 200 words about what celebrity you would like to hang out with for a day. And then I asked, what would you do? And these were our submitters this week. I believe these were all the submitters I had this week. And so thank you so much for those people who did write the answer to the prompt and submit that. Remember, you can do popcorn draft, a fast draft, or you can do your polished version. And the one I want to go over is Melissa Ellen Penn. Melissa Ellen Penn, actually, she was so brave. She actually wrote this and put it on Facebook. So I saw it on Facebook first. She shared it with her audience, and I thought it was great then. And then when I was looking it over and that, I'm like, you know what? This is the one I'm going to feature. So I'm actually using Melissa's full name because this is so close to this is so close to excellent that there's really just a couple of minor things I want to point out here, and then a couple of really good things about this piece. So Melissa chose to write about Joni Mitchell. And she starts with this quote from Joni Mitchell, quoted in the LA Times. It's kind of a longer quote than we normally have for these types of submissions, but it's fine. What you want to do, I want to give everybody a hint here. When you're quoting something this long and it has different paragraphs, what you actually do is start each paragraph with quote marks. And you'll see books that have a lot of dialogue do this. And the reason is so it's the same person talking, but you don't say, for instance, you do not put quote marks here because that means that person's done talking, and then this one is the next paragraph is a new person talking. So for something like this, you put starting quote marks for each paragraph, and then when the person's done talking, you put ending quote marks. One other thing here, now that I see it, when you're quoting, when you have quotes within quotes, you change it so it's single quotes. So the double quotes designate somebody's talking. The single quotes within is kind of like a parenthetical phrase or a quoted phrase that they have within. And then finally, I can't believe that the LA Times had this grammatic or this punctuation error, that they actually printed it this way, because this comma is not supposed to be there. So it just does not make sense to have a comma there. If I was editing this for a book, I would take that comma out. And even if it was in the LA Times, I would still take it out because it doesn't reflect well on the writer or Joni Mitchell. So, okay. Then here is Melissa's piece. I'll actually read it here. So, high on a hillside in Malibu, I would spend the day talking with Joni Mitchell. Sitting in her studio, looking at the paintings lining its walls, we would immerse ourselves in discussions of color and form. In the safety of observation, we would begin, the textures of canvas and paint revealing ourselves to each other. Later, when we moved deeper, trusted more, and I would ask her about winter, her decision to leave commercial music, about giving a child up for adoption, about reconnecting with that child. I would share that I too was an adopted child that never adapted. I would thank her for her music and confess to her of how, as a young teen living on my own, I would play her song Cactus Tree on the piano and sing for hours, letting the beauty of her melodies and the strength of my own voice give me the courage to dream another dream, face another day. Our spirits, kindred in so many ways, would weave a unique tapestry, the weft, our sensitivity, the warp, our need to express it. Slowly sharing our thoughts would lead us out over the waves of the Pacific to find a partnership in our expression. I would hope we would share songs, laugh, and drink wine under the hues of the California sun and love life together. So just a really beautiful piece here from Melissa. So a couple of things you probably heard. I said ourselves. That's what this should be. And in Microsoft Word, you see it has it underlined in red to tell you that that is incorrect. So that is one change that you'd want to make. And then you used ourselves, it's correct down here. And then here I just took out a couple of words and suggest a period here. So I would share that I would think, here we have that we know that Joni gave up a child for adoption. So then we don't need the two here. I would share that I was an adopted child that never adapted. And the reason I wanted to take out that two is just because I don't think it was needed, but also interrupts the flow of this really beautiful phrase here, that this adopted child that never adapted. I really like that, Melissa. That's really nice writing right there. Then I would thank her for her music. I would put a period there. I think that that is a good, strong statement on its own. And then we could just start with and or and I, or I would confess to her. I would confess how. So this, again, just a few extra words that aren't needed. And if you winnow these extra words out, you will find that it makes your writing stronger. So I really encourage you, when you're looking over your piece, you're polishing it up, to really, especially in short pieces like this, to really contemplate each word and make sure that it works for you. So I would confess how, as a young teen living on my own, I would play her song Cactus Tree, we don't need a comma here, on the piano and sing for hours, letting the beauty of her melodies and the strength of my own voice give me the courage to dream another dream, face another day. So again, just a beautiful phrase here. I put it in blue. I should have put this adopted child one in blue as well, because these are things I really like. So I think that's really well written. And then our spirits, kindred in so many ways, would weave a unique tapestry. That's a nice image there. The weft, our sensitivity, the warp, our need to express it. And I'm like, weft, what is weft? But then I can figure it out by the way Melissa uses this. I imagine, I believe, when you're making a tapestry, it's probably like the lines that go up and down and the lines that go side to side, or what you weave into it or something like that. That's what I assume. So you don't have to go over into extra explainery, as my favorite writing professor, Dr. Donnelly, used to say. Instead, you can let the words and the analogy and the metaphor describe itself. So that's nice. And how nice too that weft and warp are two W words like that. So it makes it even more poetic. Then you have slowly sharing our thoughts would lead us over the waves of the Pacific to find a partnership in our expression. And as I was reading this out loud, it reminded me, because she has that song. I don't know a whole lot about Joni Mitchell, but I know a couple of songs from all I really know about Joni Mitchell comes from You've Got Mail, because Meg Ryan, in that her role in that movie, she was a big Joni Mitchell fan, and she has that song about, I wish there was a river I could skate away on. And that's what this echoes, this lead us out over the waves of the Pacific, something like that. So I wonder if you could, Melissa, maybe even work the word ride in here somewhere, ride over the waves of the Pacific, and that would be even a little greater echo of that river song that Joni has. Anyway, and then ends nicely here, and love life together. Just really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for submitting this, Melissa. It's very, very nice. Okay, then I'm going to wrap up here with a couple announcements and then next week's prompt. So a couple announcements. I have a couple of calls coming up this week. The first is open to everyone, and it is the 10-point checklist to becoming a bestseller. So this is a call that I'm doing on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're on my list, if you're in the Business Authors Association, I'll probably post something about it there. But you can put it in your calendar right now, 10-point checklist to becoming a bestseller. It will include a PDF with this checklist. It's good things to know before you publish, but even after you publish, there are some things that you can do to boost your sales of your book. And I see opt-ins for that call coming in briskly this morning, so I'm glad to see that. And then for those who are signing up for the Community Book Project, the 2020 Vision, we're having a mentor meeting Thursday at 7 p.m. So that's what I was talking up above in my email about the Mentors Among Us program. And we're going to get started with this 2020 Vision mentor meeting on Thursday. If this is the first you've heard of this, and somehow you found your way here and you haven't heard about this book project yet, Again, watch for announcements in the Business Authors Association, also for announcements that will be coming to your email from me. And if you've already signed up for this book project, you're interested in being a mentor, come to that meeting if you can. And if you can't, that's all right. There'll be a replay. A couple of things, though, I'm going to send in an email. When you come to that meeting, what I want you to prepare or to bring for yourself is first a list of how many community book projects you've been in, which ones you've been in. So just make a little list for yourself. And then secondly, why you like the community book projects. So 3 or 4 sentences, you can write them out if you want to, about why you like to be a part of the community book project. So that's what I'm asking for my mentors, and we're going to have that meeting Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern. All right, now next week's prompt. I like this one. I like all of them, but I like this one. Next week's prompt is, do you have any superstitions? If so, what are they and how did they come about? If not, why not? All right, do you have any superstitions? I do. So that is what the prompt is for next week's Give Me 200 Words. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is, let me go back up to my image here. My name is Donna Kozik. I'm the founder of MyBigBusinessCard.com, creator and leader of the original Write a Book in a Weekend program, also lead editor for the Community Book Project. Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you in the bookstore and online.